Hi guys, my name is Ethan Hammond and welcome back to my set of CAD tutorials. Today we're going to be learning a little bit of dimensioning and getting into Fusion, and we're going to make our first model, which is going to be a six-sided die. Here I pulled up the dimensions for it. I will walk you through how to read these dimensions and interpret them in a way that's conducive to drawing the model, and I will walk you through modeling it the way I drew it. So let's get started. I'm going to go to Google Chrome, and I'm already at the Autodesk 360 sign-in page, so I'm going to sign in. You guys will be signing in on the accounts that I've set up. You've all been added to this project, FTC Robotics. Anna or another mentor will get you the information for these accounts. So yeah, anyways, you're gonna go into project 1 called Dice right here. You just click it. It's like a folder on the computer. It opens up. So each of you are going to make your own model. So you're going to do New, and there's a drop down, and you click Fusion Design. So you click Fusion Design, and it's going to bring you back to the Fusion browser page. So I got you guys to this point in the prior video, so I'll walk you through kind of just a basic demo of what everything is. Up here, this is just like the standard file menu in most programs. You can see, you've got File, New Design, Export. If you want to save stuff, you can save up here as well. This section right here, from Model through Select, is called the ribbon. This is where you find all of your commands. And you can see that there are drop-down menus here. So like Sketch, you can have different types of sketches, like lines, rectangles, circles, arcs, slots, points. These are used in dimensioning and doing more complicated drawings. Create, basically, this section works with sketches to create things. So in order to make the die, we're going to have to use the extrude command, which I will get to later, but there's a ton of other stuff here, and they're all very useful once you get more into CAD. Modify is another menu here. We can work on the edges of pieces with fillets and chamfers. And note, they're not called fillets. They are pronounced fillet. It's a big deal. Some more commands down here. And we've got faces, which are used to create more complicated parts. And then the select box over here, which will allow you to select what you want to work on. So anyways, let's get started with reading this. So the type of dimensioning I did here is called reference point. What that means is that for each part of this, so this side over here, this side over here, this side over here, and so on, all the dimensions are from one point. That one point you would call the datum. So, for example, the datum of this side, which is the 4 side of the die, aka right here, the datum would be in the top left corner. Again, for the 2 side, the datum is in the top left corner. For the 3 side, the datum's in the top right corner. For the 5 side, the datum is in the top left corner. And for the 6 side, the datum is in the top left corner. For the 1 side, I just kind of left it like that because the 1's centered. You can assume that it's centered. It's not necessarily best practice, and if you were ever working in a job, you would not want to do that. You would want to provide a dimension from the left corner down, but that would just read 12.5. So anyways, we're going to start with the simplest side of this die, the 1 side. So back to Fusion. That's not Fusion, sorry. Back to Fusion. I'm going to do a sketch, and you can see these planes pop up. So some of you may be in geometry or may have learned about planes. What a plane is just an infinitely flat surface. And sketches always start in planes. You always have to have a flat surface to start a sketch on. And for this part, it doesn't specifically matter where we start the plane. And for all parts, it doesn't really matter where you start it, but you want to start it in a plane that makes sense. So we're going to start it on the plane right here, which is the XY plane. So you'll notice the view changes to a 2D view. That's good because sketches are 2D. So looking back at the dimensions of the die, we have a 25 millimeter by 25 millimeter square. So we're going to draw a 25 by 25 square, starting right here. This point, the intersection of these axes is called the origin. So using the rectangle tool, since a rectangle can be a square, we're going to start by clicking at the origin, dragging over, and you can see that these different text boxes are highlighted. How you actually fill those in is you just type in your numbers. So I want this to be 25 millimeters long, so I can just type 25. If I want to select the other box, which is currently 71.56, I press tab, and that jumps, and then 25. So both are now 25 millimeters long, and then you press enter, and it's now a 25 by 25 square. So you're probably wondering, okay, well that's a 2D square, how do we make it 3D? You're going to go up to create and select extrude. What extrude does is it takes a sketch and basically pulls it along a direction. So you can think of it like, if you've ever played with silly putty, extruding would be like you pulling silly putty apart. So I'm going to select the sketch that I want to extrude, which is that square we just drew, and I'm going to extrude it 25 millimeters. You can see that it makes a cube, and again, you're just going to press enter. So now you've got your first 3D object, a cube. Some notes on moving around in Fusion. By clicking and holding the mouse wheel down and dragging, you can pan. This is called panning when you're just moving around. If you want to rotate, you hold shift on the keyboard and hold the mouse wheel down and drag, and this is called rotating. You can see in the top right corner as I drag, there's a thing called the view cube, and that's showing you the different sides of your object relative to the plane that you started it on. So you can see that if I were to click front, it's going to line me up with the front of the object. So we're going to start there. From the front of your cube, you're going to make a sketch, keeping in mind that you can make a sketch on any flat surface. You're going to want to make the sketch on the front of your cube. So as I move my mouse, you can see different areas get highlighted. Make sure you highlight the front of the cube. So I click, and I'm now in sketch mode for that part of the cube. Looking back at the dimensions, you can see that we want this hole to be centered and have a diameter of 5 millimeters. That means that the distance from one end directly across the other of the circle will be 5 millimeters. So back to Fusion. I'm going to start by drawing a circle. Oh, that doesn't work in the software, my bad. I'm going to start by drawing a line with this command right here. This is a line command. And we want it to be centered, so we can figure out where the center of this is in two ways. I prefer doing diagonals because it just gives you a nice point to work from. So draw your first line and you drag over it. Draw your second line. You can see that I get this little dot here. That's a snap point for the corner of the cube. Make sure you're on the snap point, and then just drag across and you'll get the other snap point. And that creates an intersection here where you're going to put your circle. So you click the circle command, click the new snap point that's been created from this intersection, and you can see that when you drag, you're going to have a circle of varying size. And circle works the same as all the other different drawing commands, so you're just going to say 5 and enter. And you have to press enter twice. So that is your circle. And let's get rid of these lines that we don't need. So we can just double click it to select it and delete. That cleans it up for us so that when we have to extrude again, we can just click and select the circle really easily. So now we're going to extrude. So this, if we look back at the print, all of these holes have a depth of 1 millimeter. So what we have to do is we have to extrude the circle by selecting it, and then 1 millimeter. I selected the wrong thing. It can get kind of tricky at some times because of the way sketches work. So we'll do extrude and select the circle. We're going to extrude it 1 millimeter. And you'll notice that that's going in the wrong direction because the die, the holes are cut in. So we can drag this arrow back, and that'll change the direction. Or you can just type in a negative value to start with since you're removing material, and say negative -1. So that will make us our first side of the die. So next, we're going to have well, let's do 3. That should be fun. So we'll go back to Fusion, and you're going to go to the top plane of the die. So get that centered, create a sketch. So again, looking back at the print, a 3 is on a diagonal path with one part centered. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing a diagonal line from corner to corner. So select the line command, get your snap point, and draw your diagonal line from corner to corner. You can see that this point right here that it just snapped to, when you see these dotted lines, that means that you're in the center of something. That's an indicator that you're in the center of it. So you can determine the center from there as well. So that's the center. We'll make that 5. Followed by, looking back at the print, we have the position of this circle here is 6.25 millimeters from one edge and 6.25 millimeters from the other. So what does that make? That makes another square. So let's use the rectangle command. Go from the corner. We're going to have 6.25, tab 6.25, enter, and that's going to be the center point of the next circle. So 5 millimeters again. Delete some of our lines, just clean it up a little bit. What? I haven't counted an error. That's great. Okay then, so it would appear that I have encountered an error. I'm just going to go back and hope that I can continue where I left off. So back into FGC Robotics, Dice, new Fusion Design. I'm going to work really quickly here for a second just to get it back up to where we were. I was not expecting there to be an error, so I didn't save. Let this be a lesson. You should always save often, because when CAD decides it's time to stop, then you're going to lose your work, and it's not fun. So excuse me. 25 by 25. Stop sketch. We're going to extrude 25. So another sketch. One was not there. One was right here. So let's get our diagonal here. Centered again. 5 millimeters. Delete this line. Stop sketch. Cut this back 1 millimeter, so -1. Nope. -1. There we go. So back to the 3 that was on top. So there we go. Let's get it back onto the top here. We had a diagonal going this way. We had one circle that was centered right here at 5 millimeters. We had one circle that was at 6.25 by 6.25 millimeters. 6.25. So again, 5 millimeters here. So the cool thing about CAD and about drawings is that A, once you're good at it, you can work really quickly like you just saw me doing. B, you can minimize the effort you have to put in. So if we look back at the print, you can see that it's symmetrical. So what that means is that this circle down here is 6.25 from this edge and 6.25 from this edge. So we're going to go back. This is a little bit tricky, so pay attention. We want to create a line that goes from the center of the square down. That's not the center. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called the mirror command. So what it's going to do is it's going to reflect this circle. Actually, we're going to want a pattern command and circular pattern. My bad. So circular pattern. It doesn't... Oh, my bad. It doesn't work with sketch elements, so we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. It's going to be another 6.25 by 6.25 square here. So 6.25 by 6.25. And we'll have a 5 millimeter diameter circle here. So 5. And we can stop our sketch and we'll extrude these. So back up to create, extrude. When I select this, it doesn't select the whole thing, so we have to go back and make sure we have all of it. All of the circle. We'll select this circle and this circle. We're going to go -1 millimeters. So that is the 3 side. Next we're going to go ahead and go for the 6. So let's go on this side right here. We'll do a 6. Okay, so looking at the print, you can see that the first circle is 6.25 by 6.25 from the top left corner. So we're going to start with that. So from the top left corner, rectangle, 6.25 by 6.25. We've got a circle of 5 millimeters. The next one is 12.5 millimeters from the top, in line with this. So we can say top corner, down. You'll notice that this snaps. This is called snapping. It snaps at 6.25, so we don't have to go back. We're at 12.5 millimeters right here. And while we're doing this, we may as well get the final one, which is going to be 12.5 plus 6.25. So you see what I did there? You can do math in this. So this should be 6.25, and this is going to be 12.5 plus 6.25. And why it's plus 6.25 is because these are equal spacing. So that gets you the centers of all of these. So we'll go back to the circle. Be 5 millimeters. And then we'll do another circle and 5 millimeters. Okay, so that's one side. And unfortunately, since we can't mirror it, we're going to have to do this one by hand. So we'll go back over here, draw our square. It'll be 6.25 by 6.25. Okay, so circle, 5 millimeters. And then it's cool because this side we have the basis to set up snapping from one side to the other. So you can see that if I highlight both these centers and drag down, they should intersect. Hopefully. Or not, because that's an AutoCAD thing. Sorry, I keep on getting softwares mixed up. So we're going to do our 6.25 rectangle by 12.5 for the second one, and then we'll do our 6.25 by 18.75. Okay, so circle, 5 millimeters, and do another circle of 5 millimeters. Okay, so that is the 6 side. We're going to stop sketch and go ahead and extrude these. You can see that because there are lines in the way, we'll have to select multiple pieces at a time per circle. That's no big deal. You can go back and fix it if you want, but really, with this view of circles, you may as well just click through it. So I've selected almost all of my circles. Now I have. And again, we're going to go -1 millimeters. So that is the 6th side. We've got 3 sides of the die getting there. So next, we'll go ahead and do the 2. So basically, that should be in line with the 3. So that's going to go right here. So we'll do a new sketch on this plane right here. Orientation wise, it should be going the opposite way. So we'll have a line from the top left corner down to the bottom right corner. We'll have a 6.25 by 6.25 square. Okay. And we'll do our other 6.25 by 6.25 square from down here because it's symmetrical. So you can assume that these are equal. Okay? So we'll do our 5 millimeter circle. And our next 5 millimeter circle as well. Stop sketch. Extrude. Make sure you select the whole circle. And all of this piece as well. We're going to go -1 millimeters again. So that creates our 2 side. Next, I'm speeding up here because, you know, you can look back at the video and by now you've done it a couple times, so you should be getting the hang of it. We're going to do the 4, and then I'll leave the 5 to you guys. That's going to be the challenge. So 4, we'll do right below the 2 on the bottom of the cube. So we'll create our sketch, select our face, and looking back at the print, you can see that it's 6.25 by 6.25 for each of these because it's symmetrical again. So from the top left corner, let's do a 6.25 by 6.25 rectangle, and we'll do another one on this corner from here. So 6.25, 6.25, another one from the bottom right corner. And finally, 6.25 by 6.25 here. So now we can go ahead and draw our circles. We're going to have a circle on each of these points, 5 millimeters, as we have been doing. So 5 millimeters here as well. And 5. And 5. We can stop our sketch and we're going to extrude these. So extrude, select your circles. And you're going to go -1 millimeters. Okay, so the challenge, you have to draw the 5, keeping in mind that the center one is just centered. Each of these are 6.25 by 6.25 from the edges, and you're going to be extruding it 1 millimeter. So in the description of this video, I'll provide a link to this print. Obviously, you can replay the video as much as you need, slow it down, speed it up, whichever way works for you. So yeah, next video we'll be going over some of the different create commands, including revolve, sweep, and maybe we'll do loft. Maybe. I'll have to think of something. So, ending up your die, what you're going to do is you are going to go up here and you're going to save. And I want you to save it as your name so that everybody can know who made it. So, do it your first name, all caps, and your last name, all caps, no space. So that's that. You just save it, and I'll look over these as they come in. Good luck, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, next video should be coming out before your next meeting. I'll see what I can do. Good luck. See ya.